What's up, guys? My name is Tim Roswick, and today I want to talk about the importance of the first click. Now, it's a concept that I've used in marketing for a long time. It's stuff that I've learned over a period of many years, and it's kind of a systematic approach to how to get people to play your game. And what a lot of people don't realize when they're setting up their marketing for their game, when they're setting up their store page, and when they're setting up for all that stuff, is that no matter what, when someone is going to for someone to buy your game, they have to click it first. That's the first thing they have to do. They have to click on your game. And it doesn't matter if you have an email list and you're sending them an email. It doesn't matter if you are, tweeting them or they see it on Steam or whatever. They still have to click it. So there are a lot of things to take into account when you're thinking about clicking. And it's why this whole thing of like clickbait has come up, and people talk about like what clickbait is and what clickbait isn't. But essentially, there are websites out there that will put false or misleading titles intentionally to get you to click it. That's not what this video is about, because I think that you can make something perfectly highly clickable without actually baiting someone with a false narrative to do so. So I'm going to talk about a few techniques on how to increase the clicks to your game. These all come from my experience in my marketing company and things that I learned there. Some of them are, for some reason, game developers have resistance to them. I'm not suggesting that you be dishonest in any way. I'm not suggesting that you do anything like that. And so I want to just kind of go through a couple of the techniques to kind of shed some light on this stuff for you guys. So number one is the headline. The headline is one of the most important things in any kind of text link. Okay, so this is, if you are posting something on Twitter, you could think of the headline as maybe the tweet with the link. If you're posting something on Reddit, you could think of the headline as what you would actually write in the title. If you're posting something on your blog, you could think of the headline as the actual title of the blog article, right? Whatever that is, whatever those few words or sentence is going to determine how many people click it, right? So X amount of people are going to see it, right? Because they're on Twitter or they're on Facebook or they're on wherever you're posting this. But out of those people, X amount of people are going to click it. And your title, your headline determines how many people click it. So you really want to spend time on this. This is not stuff that you just want to throw together. And if you are going to throw it together, I would take a testing approach where you kind of test different things over time. Like, not all of us have time to sit down and design the perfect headline. And often the best headlines and titles are the ones that are iterated on. They're discovered. They're not designed, if that makes sense. So one, I would think about it in a way where you don't have to create the ultimate, title. You can test things out on a smaller scale, like using Twitter, for example, to see what works. So for me, if I was going to post something online, an approach I might take would be I would tweet a couple different things, right? Like I would tweet out, like when it comes to my game, if we're talking game specifically, I would say a game about love being actual hell, because that's what my game is, Phallophobia, right? I would maybe tweet out a couple different things, see what resonates with people. And you can actually get Twitter analytics and you see the engagement, you can see the impressions on all that stuff. And I think the engagement is more important to look at than the impressions, because impressions can be somewhat random and based on the time of day, based on who's on your following is watching, based on who retweets it, all that different stuff. So I think engagement percentage is more important than that. But after I got something that seemed to work better, like you'll see stuff like this thing that I tweeted just works better than the other thing that I tweeted. Once you get something that works better, then maybe I might move to Reddit and I might post that as a headline in a subreddit, like gaming or like any one of these other subreddits. See how it does there. If it does well, maybe move on somewhere else. Post a blog title with that name or a YouTube video with that title, right? You can kind of capitalize on the titles and headlines that work best. And sometimes when you're talking about your game, you're talking about the thing that describes your game. If you're going to be using those as your titles, oftentimes those can come from random things that you posted and they just work very well, right? Like the love is hell tagline of Phallophobia. It seems super obvious because, like, hearts are haunting you in hell for my game. But that was not simple to come up with. It took a long time. It took a lot of iteration. It took a lot of describing the game to come up with the headline "Love is Hell," right? And I finally did that. Now that's the main headline on my landing page. So it took a lot of work to get there, but it's worth it because it describes the game very clearly. It says a lot with a little, you know. And when I got to the top of our gaming, I used a similar approach, and I was very timely about it, right? Like I posted it at the right time, I posted the right thing, and so I got some exposure doing that. So the text there is super, super important, but that's only the first part. The other part is the visualness, if that's a word. So on Steam, when someone's browsing a bunch of games, they'll see a little image that represents your game, right? If you're on Itch or any one of these stores or whatever, you'll also see a list of images and stuff that will showcase all the different games. Some of these platforms and stuff have animated image support, so they'll allow like animated GIFs and stuff. Some of them don't. Some of them only allow static. I don't think Steam allows animated images. So you've got to take it platform by platform and figure out what you're going to do. But this, again, is testable. It's iteratable. You can iterate on it, and you don't want to just throw up a random image, because that random image may be the difference between 1,000 sales or 500 sales. And if that one image is causing that, like, you need to spend some time on that, right? It's not something you just throw together and put up there. So one of the best ways to do this is just to set up like an image. And I see this a lot in the Indie Game Developers Facebook group. I see it in a couple different places, but it's a good approach, I think. Is you set up an image where like you would have A, B, C, D, like 4 different versions, and you ask people which one catches their eye, right? And you can just say, hey, what catches your eye? This works better on like gamers. If you have an audience, if you have a Twitter like for your game, or you have a Discord, or you have an email list or something, it would work much better with the actual people that are going to be buying your game. But it can work okay with game developers. You're just going to be getting a little bit of skewed data sometimes because they're not your target audience. But knowing what catches someone's eye, I think, is more of a general concept versus what will actually work. That's a more specific concept. So I would figure out which things just catch people's eye. Like that's the number one, right? Because number one, you got to stand out from everyone else. That's the first thing, is you got to catch their eye. You got to look at it. Another thing that I would do to make sure that it looks good is I would look at it in black and white. In Photoshop, there's a quick option to turn it black and white, or there are plenty of like online generators where you can do that. But in black and white, is the contrast still high enough? Can you still tell what's going on? Can you see what, like, whatever the image is? Can you read the text if there's text on it? Which there shouldn't be a whole lot of text, just pro tip. Because this image is more for, just to represent the game and all that stuff. But you want to figure all that out. You want to see what catches most people's eye, and then you want to put it up there and see if it works. This is one of those things that you do want to test over time. And my approach to this has been to release stuff on lower volume places. Like, for example, a lot of my games are on Android. And one of the reasons why I put them on Android, not iOS, is because I want to work some kinks out on how I have the games up. Same thing with like Itch versus Steam. It might be beneficial to put the game up, not necessarily put it up for download or put it up for sale, like especially if the launch date is there, but put it up to where you can look at the analytics and you can see if you're getting clicks, or throw up the website or whatever. And you can put this stuff up there and you can see how it works or how it doesn't. And when you do that, you can change the image and then see if it works better or if it works worse. You can also do this with tweets. You can post a tweet like in different hashtags and attach to the image, and you can watch the engagement levels on different images or different GIFs. And some of them will just work better, right? This also can work in person at conventions or events. You can show people stuff, you can show people images, or you can test different images up above your demo station or whatever. That's a lot harder to quantify though, but sometimes it can be really, really useful because you can take notes on like how it's working or what you're saying that's working, which goes back to like the headline and title stuff. As you're saying stuff, you can kind of iterate on it and see what people respond to. But generally, once you've got the text down, once you've got the images down, I think you've got the clickability managed. And I think that's when you go into the traffic phase. Most people start with the traffic, right? They just try and send a bunch of people to their game. But I would always start with the clickability. Like, how clickable is it? How appealing is it to people? And so I know this has been a lot of stuff to cover, but I thought I would share it because this is something I see as a mistake a lot, and I thought I would throw it out there in a video. Appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions on this, leave them down below. I'm happy to answer them. Once again, my name is Tim Ruswick, and I'll see you again tomorrow.